Okay, so we want to look at the contrary forms of the plural subjects, the, the the premises with plural subjects. These are these are universally distributed plural subjects. The predicate is distributed universally. This is universal distribution in the positive form, and this is in the negative form. The way you form the contrary is to change the assertion, which says what is, to the denial, which says what is not. You keep the same subject and the same predicate, and that forms a contrary. This is one way to form the contrary predicate. The contrary premise. The reason why it's contrary is that if one is true, it may mean that the other one is false. But if one is false, it's not necessary that the other one is true. That's the form of a contrary. We can see the same thing if we take the singular subject contrary form. For example, the cup is hot. And then we take the contrary. The cup is cold. The contrary in this case, since it's a singular subject, happens when the predicate admits of a contrary, which in this case it does, and we take that contrary. So hot has a contrary of cold. Say the cup is cold. That's the contrary premise. The reason that it's similar to this is because if you say the cup is cold is true, then it's false that the cup is hot is false. But if you didn't say anything about the cup being cold and you knew that the cup is hot was false, it's not necessarily true that the cup is cold. It could be warm or whatever. So that's the difference between the contrary. That's why this is a contrary form. This is a contrary form. This is a contrary form. In the singular subject, the contrary is formed by the contrary predicate, if it admits of a contrary. In the universal subject, since the essential nature of the plural, in the plural subject, since the essential nature of the plural subject is in the distribution, by taking the denial form, and remember, the denial form with the singular subject would have formed a contradictory premise. But with the plural subject, the denial forms the contrary of that same form. If one is true, the other is false. But if one is false, it's not necessary that the other is true. That's the form of the contrary. So the other way to form, you either take the universal distribution on the plural subject and you take the denial or the assertion. This is a contrary pair. Or you can also take the universal distribution of the positive form and change it to the negative form, keeping the same predicate. And if it's an affirmation, you keep it as an affirmation, and vice versa. If it happened to have been a denial, it would have been a denial here. You keep the form of the assertion or the denial. It's an assertion. Keep an assertion. Keep the predicate. Keep the subject. But you change the universal positive distribution to the universal negative. So this also can form the contrary. Those are contraries. And this, of course, works backwards.